This is a true story told by someone from a coastal village in the Philippines about events that happened nearly 30 years ago. The people in this village relied entirely on the sea for their living. Let's talk about a man named Michael. He was known to be hot-tempered, but he was generally a good person. One day, Michael was out in the forest when he stumbled upon a little baby monkey. Feeling sorry for the poor thing, he decided to bring it home to see if it would survive. At that time, Michael and his wife had a baby girl, their first child, who was only about 6 or 7 months old. When the monkey arrived, Michael tied its neck to a corner post inside the house. He also built a small cage. Since Michael was a fisherman, he often cleaned his nets nearby, and sometimes small fish or shrimp would fall out, which the monkey would scavenge and eat. Otherwise, it ate whatever the family ate. Michael kept it mainly out of pity, not as a carefully raised pet like people keep today. Life was very difficult financially in the Philippines back then. Both Michael and his wife had to go out to sea to work, often leaving before dawn and only returning around noon with their catch. When their daughter started crawling, they found that the monkey and the little girl played happily together. One afternoon, Michael's wife came home and noticed something that looked like fish scales around the baby's mouth. She initially brushed it off, thinking the baby had just smeared some dirt on herself. In those hard times, people were focused on having enough food to eat, so they didn't prioritize perfect hygiene. But then, a few days later, she accidentally caught the baby crawling out from the area where the monkey stayed. She decided to hide and watch. To her shock, she saw the monkey reaching for the tiny fish and shrimp that were stuck on the floor. The monkey would eat one piece and then feed the next one to the baby. The monkey had been feeding their daughter raw fish and shrimp all that time, and the parents had no idea. After this discovery, Michael built a proper cage, hoping to keep the baby from crawling in there again. Luckily, after that incident, the baby stopped eating the raw seafood, and the parents felt somewhat relieved. However, the trouble wasn't over. One day, as Michael and his wife walked home from a distance, they heard their daughter crying uncontrollably. Panicked, they rushed inside. They found the baby's hand was stuck inside the monkey's cage, and the monkey was aggressively pulling the baby's hand through the bars. The monkey was so angry that it bit the little girl's hand, drawing a lot of blood. Michael was already hot-tempered, and in a fit of rage and fear for his daughter, he spotted a wooden pestle nearby. He grabbed it and struck the monkey hard on the head. Whether it was his anger or his panic to save his child, he hit it too hard. The monkey convulsed and died immediately. Michael and his wife regretted killing it, but they prioritized their daughter. The child's hand injury wasn't severe, and Michael's wife soon forgot about the monkey. Michael went a step further. He butchered the monkey and ate the meat. For him, it was just an animal, and people didn't typically attach much sentiment to them back then. If there was meat, they ate it. A little over a year later, the real tragedy struck. Michael's baby girl died. No one could figure out what was wrong with her. She just got thinner and thinner. Her hair started falling out until only a few strands remained. They took her everywhere, but no one could diagnose her condition. They prayed and made offerings, but nothing helped. She eventually withered away and died. When she passed, she was nothing but skin and bones, looking exactly like a baby monkey. Some people claimed she died from poisoning after the monkey bite, while others said Michael's house was haunted by a monkey spirit. The hauntings started soon after. A neighbor named Bin, about 40 years old, went to Michael's yard to pick chili peppers. As he bent down, he heard a sound from the roof. He looked up and saw a small black shadow shaped exactly like a monkey. It leapt right onto him. Bin automatically threw his hands up to cover his face, but when he opened them a moment later, nothing was there. He didn't tell Michael, worried Michael would think he was making up stories. Later, the rumors of the haunting spread. Fishermen woke up early, around 3 or 4 a.m. One morning, a father and son were walking past Michael's house. The father heard a strange cackling sound. He shone his light around. The son didn't hear it at first, but when his father pointed it out, they both listened. They stopped and kept waving the light until they reached Michael's roof. They saw 2 small black shadows squatting there. One shadow jumped down and vanished. The other turned back and hissed or cackled threateningly at the father. The father later described the creature's eyes as glowing red like small chili lights, and its wide-open mouth was also bright red. The sight nearly stopped his heart. The father and son ran all the way to the sea. They were terrified, but they still had to work, so they just made sure to walk past Michael's house very quickly after that, never daring to look up at the roof again. Then there was a woman named Mia, known for being incredibly brave and tough. She often stayed out late gambling and drinking. When she heard the father and son's story, she laughed, calling them cowards. Mia claimed she saw ghosts all the time when walking at night, saying a single soul couldn't harm anyone. One evening, as she walked past Michael's house at dusk, she deliberately stared up at the roof, but saw nothing. As she reached a plot of land near the house, she suddenly heard leaves rustling violently, sounding like someone swinging and jumping on a tree. Mia looked up and saw 2 tiny, very skinny black shadows staring at her. They jumped down and ran toward her. They moved like 2 skinny monkeys, and their mouths were making a terrifying, cackling sound. Mia started running as fast as she could, but the 2 spirits chased her. Dirt and rocks flew up behind them, with some hitting her. When she finally made it home, she was breathing as if she had just run a 400-meter sprint in the Olympics. She was so ill afterward that she stayed sick for a week. Once Mia recovered, she spread the story everywhere. Soon, everyone who walked past Michael's property was harassed by the spirits. In the Philippines, there's a custom that says if you encounter a ghost, holding a mulberry branch and whipping the air with it will scare the spirit away. The villagers started carrying mulberry branches when they walked by Michael's land, and it actually worked. But here's the strange twist. Once the villagers stopped being harassed, Michael and his wife took the full force of the vengeful spirits. Neighbors noticed Michael's eyes were constantly bloodshot. When they asked, he admitted he couldn't sleep because he heard constant thumping on his roof every night, like someone jumping up and down. Michael also had a cornfield. When the crops grew tall and green, they looked wonderful. But as soon as the ears of corn started to sprout, they were plucked off and scattered all over the ground. Michael was furious and staked out the field at night, but he never saw anyone. Yet, every morning, the damaged corn lay at the base of the stalks. Then, one night, Michael finally saw something. A whole troop of monkeys coming out of the forest. This was highly unusual. Monkeys were very rare in that area. Michael, scared, angry, and protective of his property, ran toward them with a stick. The whole troop turned and stared at him fiercely, and their eyes instantly glowed bright red. Then they began to chuckle and cackle. Kee, 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 kee. Michael froze in fear. Simultaneously, the entire group of monkeys bared their teeth, smiled at him, and then vanished right before his eyes. Michael couldn't even crawl back to the house, and that night he ran a high fever. His wife brought offerings to the field, but things didn't get better. Michael soon started suffering the exact same illness his daughter had. His hair fell out, and he began to waste away. Michael's wife knew he was doomed. She desperately sought help, but everyone she asked told her they couldn't do anything. Michael grew weaker until the day he died. He screamed terribly during his final moments, yelling, "Don't take me," until he took his last breath. His eyes rolled back, and he convulsed violently. His wife later said Michael's death looked exactly like the moment he beat the monkey to death. Soon after, she left the property and went to live with her mother, scared and grieving. About 15 years later, a road was built across Michael's land. People thought the trouble was over, but after the road was finished, accidents became constant at that spot. People reported that while they were driving normally, a black shadow would suddenly leap onto the front of their vehicle, causing them to crash. Although none of the accidents were fatal, they kept happening. The community decided to build a small, unnamed shrine there. They figured if travelers stopped to light some incense, it would offer some comfort. Once the shrine was erected, the accidents stopped. The small shrine remains there today. People in the coastal village still say that late at night, two tiny black shadows sit near that shrine. Their eyes glow red like fire, and they make a cackling sound. One shadow is the monkey Michael beat to death, and the other shadow is his baby daughter, now just skin and bones with a few strands of hair left. The story suggests that when anger and vengeance take hold, they can consume everything, turning both the victim and the instrument of revenge into haunting echoes of the past.